Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Okay. Okay, 1 second. Okay, good evening and welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05 once again. Thanks again for joining in and looking forward to a great show tonight. As you know, each week we have a great guest, and as you also know, it's always important to know your most important job as a business owner, and that's sales and marketing. And because of that, we try and focus as much as we can on helping you to become and develop your skills at sales and marketing, because that's one of the keys to becoming a successful business owner. As we know, there's so many things you need to do and learn to be a successful business owner that it's impossible to learn them all. But at least hopefully we can help you along that journey, help you to learn key things faster and easier. So that's what the show is all about, to really help you prepare you to be more successful with your business. Tonight, our topic is about hiring and managing a sales team. Liz Heiman is my guest. So we're going to talk about hiring and managing a sales team, but also, what to do if you're a sales team and how to sell more effectively. So definitely, the better your selling skills, the more likely you're going to, increase your revenue. So definitely, talk to Liz. She's got a lot of great things to share, and looking forward to our conversation this evening. Hey, Liz, how you doing tonight?
I am well. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for joining me this evening.
I'm happy to be here. Always excited to share.
Excellent. Well, I know a little bit about you, but the audience doesn't. So it'd be great if you could take a few minutes, talk a little bit about your journey, some key milestones, and then, end up with sort of where you are now. And then we'll start our conversation.
Okay. Hi, I'm Liz Heiman, and let me start with the end. I'm a sales consultant, and I help companies grow their sales organizations. And I started in sales very early. Like many of you, my first job was retail. And I think I was 13 all the way through high school. I did retail. And then when I got into college, I had my first job as a what we now call an SDR or an inside salesperson doing outbound calling for the university. And later, not too long after that, after I graduated, I ran my first inside sales team for a company called Miller Heiman. And then I took a break, went off to graduate school and studied international political economy. So I am an economist who specializes in the economy of the world. And then I found myself back at Miller Heiman as the director of Asia Pacific, managing a sales organization who had been around longer than I had been alive and at the time. And I really learned how do you keep sales consistent? How do you keep it going? How do you manage a team around that to get success? How do you hire the right people? And I am now a sales consultant. As I said, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I work with mid-sized, primarily manufacturing companies, but not only manufacturing companies. And I help them to understand the environment that they're selling in now and figure out how do they best leverage their strengths and manage the situation around them so that they can get the best results by putting in systems and process and strategy to drive all of that. So that's who I am and what I do.
Excellent. Excellent. So, okay. So, you start out early in retail. Definitely learning how to sell is a critical skill. And the earlier you learn how to do it, the better. And then you've had great opportunities to do it. So we're going to dig into sort of what you've learned and what you share with other people. But before we do that, we do this show through the Small Business Pro University, and we provide a lot of valuable resources for entrepreneurs and business owners. So I got a short video letting people know what the Small Business Pro University is all about, and then we'll be back talking small business with Liz Heiman. Many small businesses experience low or no revenue growth, and the owners are not making enough money. I founded Small Business Pro University to help you break that cycle by empowering you with greater knowledge and enhanced skills to lead your organization more effectively. Over the past 15 years, I've collaborated with organizations like the Small Business Development Center, Rising Tide Capital, Empower the Village, NJMEP, Rutgers University, and SCORE to work one-on-one with over 1,000 business owners and teach tens of thousands of people about business. My experience includes serving as a naval officer, managing businesses, graduating from MIT, earning an MBA from NYU, and achieving the CFA designation, which has prepared me to accomplish my mission of helping 1,008,000 business owners to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth by 2028. My vision is to create the ultimate business ecosystem for entrepreneurs. Small Business Pro University empowers entrepreneurs like you to run their businesses more professionally and create sustainable enterprises. We employ my proven proprietary Masterpreneur Playbook framework to guide your journey along the Masterpreneur path and facilitate your Masterpreneur evolution to work on your business and scale faster and easier. Small Business Pro University provides access to valuable resources, partnerships, and relationships that will help you to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth. Our Masterpreneur initiatives include the Small Business Pro Network, 100+ expert-led multimedia courses, intensive training workshops, Spanish language training, Leadership Live at 8:05 live stream and podcast, in-person Power Breakfast events, and advisory coaching, consulting, and training services. Good evening. We're back at Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm here with Liz Heiman talking small business. Our topic tonight is hiring and managing a sales team. Liz, you talked a little bit about your journey and how you've been in many, several different levels of sales and different organizations throughout your career before actually coming on, becoming a sales consultant to mid-sized manufacturing companies. Sales is different at most organizations, but there's certain things that stay consistent. What are some of the things that are consistent across the board when we're thinking about selling?
I think there's a couple of things. So the first is that good sales is good sales, and good sales is about your customer, not about yourself or your business. I think the second thing is that process helps anybody be a better seller. And so when you have process for yourself or process for your team, then that helps you to be more successful in your selling endeavors. We tend to, have this belief system that sales is somehow this magical process. And in fact, it's not a magical process. It is a process that anybody can learn and follow. And so I think that's a starting place.
All right, great. So customer focused and using a process. Okay.
Those are the two things.
Okay. Excellent. So
But
now,
let's do this for a second. Let's take a turn, because I think what's really important for small business owners is this idea of what sales is and what sales isn't. So are you okay if we go that direction?
no, that sounds good.
So it's interesting to me how often I say the word sales and people cringe. Now, in fact, I did an interview with a guy today who wants a job as a strategic account growth person at a small company that works with very large companies. And he's like, well, I never really did sales. What I did was, and I'm willing to say, and he kept saying, well, I don't do sales. And I finally said, hey, hang on a second. Sales is not, it is a 4-letter word, but it's not a bad word. And I think it has a really bad reputation. And the reputation comes from this, into this history of the snake oil salesman and the used car salesman and the person who is manipulating and pushing and driving and trying to coerce and manipulate you into making a decision. And in fact, good salespeople don't do any of those things. So good salespeople engage with their customer to identify problems and solve them. And a really good salesperson knows really quickly when they're not the one to solve the problem. So if when you think of sales, you think, oh, I've got to do this manipulative, icky, nasty, pushy thing, stop thinking that. Just put it out of your head. And remember that you have a solution. You created a business because you have something you can solve. So let's focus on how we solve to help people be more successful or to have the things that they want. So does that frame it in a way that's helpful, Andrew?
I mean, definitely. I think that, a lot of people, I help people with sales and marketing. And one of the first things I do is I ask them to define it, because everybody thinks they know what sales and marketing is until they have to define it. And then it's like, well, I know what it is. So, I think definitely it's good to start with a definition for clarity to make sure everybody's on the same page. So no, I appreciate you bringing us back to make sure we cover that. So now I have a question here from the audience, and I think it's, a good place to start. How do you spot a natural salesperson during the interview? And the other thing is, on my side, is there a natural salesperson? And because a lot of people assume a certain type of person is a natural salesperson, even though that's not necessarily the case from what I understand.
Absolutely. So what happens is we tend to think that person who is super talkative, really outgoing, quick with their answers, fast on their feet, that's who we want. We want this outgoing, we want this arrogant person to be our salesperson. And I would argue right from the start, that's a mistake. That's a myth. Arrogant people do not make good salespeople. People who are fast talkers do not make good salespeople. They may sell stuff for you, but they're not going to have repeat business. They're not going to build good relationships. So we have to start with, what isn't, and we tend to think that person that, we tease kids or they can talk you into anything and go, oh, you're going to be a salesperson when you grow up. But good salespeople don't talk people into things they don't want. Good salespeople are really good at filling their funnel or keeping their pipeline or their flow of leads going and at closing the ones that are a good fit. So the first thing is to put aside this myth about what is a good salesperson and really think about what is the job that you have or that you need to do and what kind of person do you need for that job. So we often have in our companies, we have a set of values that we say we're going to live by. And then we go hire a salesperson who doesn't fit those values. And we're customer first, we're customer focused, that we have integrity, we think all these really wonderful things. And then we go hire somebody who's fast talker, knows just what to say, can talk anybody into anything, and really doesn't fit the values and the mission of our company. So a good salesperson is somebody who's focused on solving problems and who follows a process to make sure that they are constantly selling and they don't have to be pushy and manipulative to get the deal closed.
Okay, excellent. So now you've got sales and you got marketing, and they aren't necessarily the same thing. I know that the better you market, the easier it is to sell. And if you get good enough at marketing, you don't have to sell anymore. But what's the difference and how do they fit together?
They're very different, and it depends on the nature of your company. So if you have a company where people can go online and find you and order something online without ever speaking to you, then you have a product-driven sale and you don't require a salesperson. So from marketing to sales is what we call motion. It's a marketing-led motion or a product-led motion. And I'm just giving you the jargon, but what it means is that people go through a process without you and don't require a person to help them make a buying decision. Now, if you need someone in your company to help people make buying decisions, or you need somebody who actually reaches out and finds relationships and finds prospects, then you need a salesperson. And then sales and marketing go along a continuum, and that continuum starts with engagement. How do I get people to look at my website? How do I get people to read things or download things or fill out forms on my website? How do I then determine when that person is actually a lead ready for a sales team to follow up with, or a salesperson to follow up with? And then once sales takes it, they qualify it and they figure out if they're ready for a proposal, and they go through the whole process of writing a proposal and revising proposals and deciding if the person really wants this and when they want it, and then closing the deal, getting signatures and money. So it's a continuum. And what we tend to think is that marketing fills the top of what I call the funnel, or the pipeline. So that marketing fills the top and sales closes everything. But in fact, often marketing plays a role throughout the entire sales process, while the salesperson is interacting one-on-one with the person who's making a buying decision, or with the group of people who are making a buying decision. And so when I think about sales versus marketing, marketing is that thing that happens one to many, or us to many, and sales is that thing that happens one to one or one to a few, because sometimes you have if you're selling a business to business product, you may have a buying team. So we're working directly with one or a couple of people. That's the sales part. Marketing is when we're getting our word out to everybody, or we're doing inbound and trying to draw people into our net so that they will interact with us.
All right. So it has a relationship. Sometimes sales is more important. Sometimes marketing is more important, depending on the industry and the product or service, basically.
Right. It's a lot of people buy things without ever talking to someone. We go to Amazon and we make purchases, or we say, hey, I want a software that does this. And I go online, and for me, I buy something that works for me or for my small team. But now if I want to buy that same SaaS product, which is software as a service, so like a QuickBooks or a Microsoft, but I have a big team of people, 50 or 100 or 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 people. Now it's not, I can just go online and order it. I need someone to help me and engage with me to help me make decisions and figure out how it's going to be implemented across a large, right? It becomes much more complicated, and that requires a person, even though it's the same product, but the buying organization is large enough that they need something more.
Okay. So now, you've got salespeople, you've got marketing people. Are salespeople usually good at marketing and vice versa, or should it be different people?
So that is such a good question. Some people are really great at both. Most people are not. So if we think about sales, and we think about the journey that a person takes, engaging in our organization, then we think about what are the different ways that they engage with us along the way. They, like I said, first they engage maybe on the website on inbound, or maybe they got an email from us, or maybe they met us at a networking event, or maybe they went to a trade show and they were looking for people who could provide the solution. There are lots of ways that we get leads, and depending upon the way that we get leads, that will define what salesperson or marketing person we need for that particular role. So sometimes at a trade show booth, for instance, they'll have salespeople, or they might have engineers, or they might have marketing people, depending upon their product and their customer. What happens though is we tend to think that, hey, salespeople are salespeople. If I can find a good salesperson, they'll be able to do this job. And in fact, that's not true. That's like saying, if I can find an engineer, they can do everything from building a bridge to designing software solution. And that's what we are thinking when we think I have a salesperson that can do everything. I want my salesperson to go out and get new leads. I want them to cold call and network. And I want them to write proposals and drive things through the process and get them to close. And I want them to resell to the same clients. And I want them to manage our largest accounts and grow them. And I want them to manage a channel who we sell through, right? You're beginning to see these are a whole bunch of different skill sets. So we want to be really clear about the job that we have, the skill set that is required, and the person who can fill it. And if we think that we're going to find somebody who can do all of those things and do them all well, do cold calling and manage complex enterprise sales, you're looking for a unicorn. And if you want to go on a unicorn hunt with me, it's one of my favorite things to do. We can go out unicorn hunting, but you're not going to find the salesperson you want that way. So I think that's really the beginning. Is it depends on the person and the skills, whether one person can do it all or not.
Okay, great. So so definitely, sales and marketing are different, and even different types of sales require different type of people, and different type of marketing requires different type of people. So, definitely, that's key to understand. So now, a lot of organizations try to bring salespeople in, and it's unsuccessful. Why is that? What causes that to happen? Because I find that that's probably more than 50% of the time.
Oh, particularly for a small business or a business doing it the first time, it is not uncommon for me to have a conversation with someone who has their third salesperson, and no one has sold anything, right? So this is not an uncommon problem. So let's start from the beginning. Let's go back to what I just talked about, which is, what is the job that I have, and what kind of salesperson do I need to do that job? Now, if you're a small business, maybe you're the only one that's ever been selling, and you're hiring your first salesperson, you are likely looking for a certain kind of person who can help you figure out what this sales role is. You do not want to hire somebody from a very large company that had a huge sales support organization behind them. You want to hire somebody who's worked in a small organization and not had a huge sales support organization behind them. So the first thing is understanding the job that you have. What is this job that I have, and what is the skill set that is needed? The second is, what kind of experience does that person need to have in order to work with me? I often have people say, well, I hired this guy from Google. I figured he'd be fabulous. I'm like, well, Google has all kinds of tools. Google has a sales operations team. Google has a sales enablement team, training, document. I mean, they've got all these things to support a sales organization. So if you hired somebody from Google or Microsoft or one of those companies, you're not hiring somebody used to working in a small business environment. And the second thing is, if you're in a small business environment and you're looking for people who can go out and start finding leads for you, you need people who are used to working in either the area or the industry that you're working in, because they need to have context that they can leverage. So we don't make up leads out of thin air. We either have to know people, we have to cold call people, we have to build relationships by meeting people places, we have to get referrals. So we have to, in some way, that person has to be connected to the market that we're selling into. If we don't have a marketing machine, right? So we're talking about marketing. If you have a marketing machine that's delivering leads, that requires a totally different kind of salesperson who can take leads and close them. So the mistake that we make is the first one, which is assuming that this person talks a great story, they sold me, they must be good at this. That is not who I want. We miss in the interview the questions about, how did you do that? What happens when you don't have a lot of things in your funnel? You don't have a lot of leads to work on. How do you go get more? How do you, how do you keep your number of leads coming in consistent? Like, you have to ask them questions about what they really do and did and how they do it. Then again, making sure that you have people from the kind of organization and industry that you actually have. Don't promise them that you can provide stuff that you can't provide. And if somebody says to you, I'm used to working in an organization that doesn't have much support. I worked for such and such company, huge corporation, and we didn't get any help from them. Don't hire that person, because they are used to having a ton of help and not even acknowledging how much help it is. I think those are some starting things, Andrew. I don't know if there's more that you want to ask me about that, but those are kind of the big reasons we get the wrong salespeople.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And I think, you also hit on, there's things that we have to do to prepare ourselves in our organization to have a salesperson. So you can't just hire someone and say, okay, good luck. Before, and many times business owners haven't done those things before they hire the salesperson. So they're really setting them up for failure without even realizing it.
Yes.
So that's important. You keep mentioning this word, and just want you to define it. You're talking about like leads. So what are leads?
Leads and pipeline are the two words, and funnel that I keep talking about. A lead is somebody who is interested in talking to you or buying from you. That's a lead. And we get leads in a number of ways. We get a lead either by, again, putting out content that they interact with, meeting them at a trade show and having them be interested, getting a referral from somebody else who says, hey, this person might be interested in working with you. So that's what a lead is. It's someone who is interested in working with you, or at least in finding out enough about your company to decide if they would want to work with you or if you can solve their problem. But I want to talk about the pipeline for a second, or the funnel, which I call it, which is the mechanism through which we measure those leads. So many people talk about a pipeline and they say, oh, we have a flow of leads through the pipeline. And I don't use the word pipeline, I use the word funnel, because what we know in sales is that you can have 10 conversations and only one of them turn into business. And it's quite possible you have not done anything wrong. That is just the natural. 10 people that you talk to are going to say, no, this isn't the right time, and no, I'm not interested. A handful of them will say, oh, I am interested. And then you'll have more conversation and realize they're not a good fit. They don't have the budget. They're not ready to do it yet. They're missing pieces that would make it possible for them to do this. Some of them you'll actually go through, a few of those you'll say, hey, we can write a proposal for them. They're ready to talk. But the others will fall out of the funnel. And then even once you go through that process of writing a proposal, many of those are going to decide they're not going to buy now, or they're not going to buy from you, or they're not going to buy what you're selling. And only one or two of them will actually buy something from you. So as a salesperson, as a business owner, we need to understand the math. How many conversations, how many website engagements do we have to have? How many conversations do we have to have? How many proposals do we have to fill out? we need to know the math of all of this so we can begin to understand, how do I measure success and make sure that I'm on track to have consistent inbound revenue?
Okay, so measuring success, and a lot of times when you think of sales and marketing, you're not thinking of numbers. You're thinking, you're figure finance is numbers, sales and marketing is qualitative. You just got to sell well. But like you mentioned, it is really a numbers game, and you need to understand your numbers to see if what you're doing is working.
And if we go back to the numbers, thinking finance, when people tell me they have cash flow issues, my first response is, you probably have sales issues.
Actually, I look at it as 90% of the problems that business owners that I work with could be solved by selling more.
It will solve a variety of problems. Absolutely.
Yes.
But it's, again, selling the right things to the right people.
Right.
And what happens is, if we don't understand that math, Andrew, that you were just talking about, that we were just talking about, if we don't understand the flow, if we let the number of leads coming into the top of the funnel slow down, then what happens is we start desperately trying to sell anything to anyone. Like, I need sales right now. And if anybody who's had a business has walked into their sales team or said to themselves, we got to sell something now, right? That's a bad place to be. When you're selling, what you want to do is have a pipeline of interested people that continues to flow, that you continue to qualify and move along the process and have momentum with, so that stuff is closing all the time. But what happens is we get super busy dealing with writing proposals and closing deals and getting people implemented, started out, whatever, and we forget to fill the top of the funnel. And so that's when we start getting desperate, or we forget that we got to qualify and we got to do all this other work. So my rule is, when we talk about the math, for everything that comes out the bottom of the funnel, you have a certain number that need to go into the top as leads. And what that number is depends upon your company. Like, mine is not 1 to 10, because most of my leads come in as referrals. So I close at least 1 in 3 of the referrals that I get. And some of them are just not qualified, or they're not good leads for me, and I have to give them to somebody else. But I have never met anyone, and if you're out there, I'm dying to meet you, but I have never met anybody that's 1 for 1. Every conversation I have turns into a deal. Like, if you're that person, call me. I need to know what you do.
Okay. So no, definitely. So, we're covering a lot of good stuff, and look forward to covering a lot more. We're a little past halfway through, but just want to take a quick break. We've got some things coming up in the next month that I just want to have people put on their calendar. So, first off, next Wednesday, we're having our Masterpreneur class on strategic planning. So if you want to learn how to plan for your future growth, check us out. And strategic planning is different than business planning, so it's important to do both, especially if you've been in business and you want to try and scale. We also do every I guess 3 times a year, we do our Power Breakfast event, which is a great event for entrepreneurs and business owners. And the night before, we always warm it up with a power networking event. So I got a short video we'll check out on the Power Breakfast. And then what we'll do is we'll be back talking small business with Liz Heiman.
When I tell you that you walk into this space and you know it's a different type of energy, are you going to be supercharged? Of course you are. I'm supercharged right now.
Power Breakfast is a great event. It certainly helped me in my business. I've met a lot of referral partners, a lot of clients.
Everyone has an opportunity to connect with small and medium-sized businesses all over New Jersey and really get the most and understand the resources that are out there and available to them.
Hi, I'm Andrew Frazier, Masterpreneur and founder of Small Business Pro University. For more than 10 years, our Power of Breakfast events have directly resulted in tens of millions of dollars in both revenue and financing for attendees. Join me at the Power Breakfast in the clubhouse at Galloping Hill Golf Course in Kenilworth, New Jersey on Friday, March 21st to learn best practices, enjoy great networking, and gain useful knowledge. We will supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast was not only inspirational, but I walked away with some tangible skills and techniques that I can put into action in my business when I go home today.
This Power Breakfast theme is work on your business and scale. You don't want to miss our featured guest speaker, Wallace Santos, CEO of Main Gear.
I'm Wallace, CEO and founder for Main Gear Computers. We manufacture gaming PCs and we sell them online, so maingear.com. Today we're considered basically the Ferrari of gaming PCs. Think of really beautiful bespoke computers that are designed for performance and entertainment. That's what we do.
I look forward to seeing you at the Power Breakfast in the clubhouse at Galloping Hill Golf Course in Kenilworth, New Jersey on Friday, March 21st. To learn more and register, visit www.sbprouU.com/power-breakfast. Take advantage of early bird pricing by registering today at www.sbprouU.com/power-breakfast. Oh, good evening. I'm back with Liz Heiman. We're talking about hiring and managing a sales team. So let's pivot and start talking a little bit more about directly hiring and managing a sales team. We've got a few questions here that we want to make sure we cover. And, let's start with, how can you build a sales team with limited resources?
So there's a couple of ways to do that. Some startup organizations will hire a salesperson strictly on commission, and there are pros and cons of doing that. The other is some salespeople will take a smaller salary if they can have ownership in the business. So there are some ways to do that. I think the most important thing, though, is to understand how much can you afford to pay somebody to sell your product. And I think with a lot of startups, they underprice because they don't fully understand the cost of sales and the cost of marketing. And so that needs to be built in to your pricing structure so that you can afford to hire somebody. If you don't build that in, then you're always scrambling, trying to figure out how you're going to pay that salesperson. So it's important to understand, one, how much will people pay, but two, what profit margin do you need after the sales and marketing and the cost of good have come out of your price? And so that's the first thing is, can we afford a salesperson? And then if we can afford a salesperson, how do we want to compensate that salesperson? If you don't feel that you can hire someone with a large salary, then you hire somebody with a smaller salary and you give them a higher commission. Some companies will do something called a draw on commission, in which they basically are paying 100% commission, but the expectation is that if you have a long sales cycle, you need a certain amount of time for those sales to close. So we pay the salesperson a certain amount every month, and they don't start getting commissions until after they have paid back or have covered the cost of their salary or their draw. We call it a draw on commission. So those are a couple of ways to do it. But more important than any of that is, before you hire a salesperson, make sure that you are situated for that person to be successful and that you're working very closely with that person so you're not wasting time. And very often I see people, again, who hire the wrong people, and then the cost becomes tremendous because they're paying somebody a salary and they're not delivering. The other thing that I often see is, well, we want to pay 100% commission. And I'm like, well, what person can afford to not be paid for 3 or 4 months or 6 months while they're working for you and to just get a commission? So you wonder why they never get off the ground. Well, they never got off the ground because they couldn't afford to invest the time in your company to be successful. So this is an investment that you need to make to be successful. So you have to decide, how much can I afford to invest? And then how do I manage that investment so that it has the payoff that I want? And the way you get the payoff that you want, part of it is making sure that you hire the right person and not just somebody who tells a good story, so that you actually have happy customers who want to buy from you.
Okay. So definitely, hiring the right salesperson. You gotta make sure you can afford it. Now, you mentioned like most people underestimate what it costs to have a salesperson and what it costs for marketing. And, I see that a lot as well. How should people go? What should people estimate? Is there a percentage? What type of range should they be thinking about?
I can't answer that because every business is so different. If you're selling a $5 product versus whether you're selling a $700,000 product, you may find that if you have a $500,000, $700,000, $1 million sale that takes you 9 to 12 or 18 months to sell, that your cost of selling and onboarding a new client could be $200,000. So we want to be really clear about what we sell, how long it takes to sell it, and what the cost is. So I had somebody come to me and say, we're going to sell this software, we're going to sell it for $5 a seat. And we went through all the math, and I'm like, well, you can't get a person interested to even work with you at that commission, because they would have to sell thousands and thousands and thousands to even begin to make a livable wage. So the first thing is, if you start thinking about what is a livable wage that somebody that has the skill set and the mindset and the willing to invest in our business, what would that cost me? Is $45,000 going to get me that? Is $150,000 going to get me that? Is $300,000 going to get me that? So that's the first piece, is what level of person do you need? And what does that kind of person cost? And then can you manage the investment, the front end investment, by having a salary that maybe isn't too high? But people want a base that covers their cost of living, and they want their commissions to be the extras. So if a person can't survive, like in New Jersey, if you paid somebody $45,000 as a base, you probably really have a tough time finding somebody, because you can't even cover your basic cost of living at that. So that's kind of the starting place. What would a person like that cost? And then the second thing, what are the other things associated with it? Do I need to pay for a telephone? Do I need to pay for a computer? What is the SaaS, the software that's required in order for this person to do their job? If you want them to use LinkedIn Navigator, for instance, to do research, that's $100 a month. If you want them to have Microsoft or Google Suites, that's another $35 or $45. If you want them to have a CRM where they can manage all the information, that's $45 to $100 a month. So there's hundreds of dollars that could be associated with the support tools that a team needs to do their job. So that's the sales side of it. And I'm sure I'm missing things in there. And then the marketing side, we think, social media is free. Well, no, it's not, because there's time that it takes to do that work, and you have to pay somebody to do that work. And if you're going to conferences, what is the cost of going to a conference? What's the booth price? What's the travel price? What's the cost of the people getting ready for it and doing it? What's the, follow-up time? All of those things need to be considered in the calculations. So that's just kind of a starting place. And Andrew, I will tell you, one of the things that I encourage people to do is actually make that spreadsheet, right? So start with there's 2 different spreadsheets. And if anybody wants some help with this, I'm happy to help. But you start with the first spreadsheet, which is how am I going to get the leads that I need to cover the cost of the salesperson and to grow the amount that I want to grow. And so I need to figure out if I'm going to do it at a trade show, what are the costs and what's the outcome that I need, or the return on investment, or the conversion, however you refer to it. If I'm going to do it with inbound, what does that cost? If I'm going to do it with networking events, what does that cost, right? So we need to first figure out what are all those costs. And then what I like to do is actually do a spreadsheet differently than you would do your normal P&L. And so you start with, if I sell this, this is what the product to deliver it costs, whether it's a service or it's something physical. This is what that actually costs, the materials, the labor to put this together and deliver it. Then the second is, what is the cost of sale? The person who is, and I just made that word up, by the way, it's not an accounting term, but the person who's selling and all the tools and everything that they need, and the travel, if they have to go meet, get on an airplane and go somewhere. And then the next is, what are the marketing costs of that? And that's before you ever start calculating your profit. You need to not just have the cost of good, but the cost of marketing and sales built into your plans so that you can understand what is this really going to cost. And if you've miscalculated, where was the miscalculation?
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. I guess it does range based on different businesses. Sort of rule of thumb I tend to think about, and you can let me know if it's decent or not, but for a lot of businesses maybe that need a salesperson to sell, but it's a medium cost product. Maybe it might be 20 to 30% commission, depending on what what type of base structure they have or whatever.
Yeah, and it's really hard to say that because it can be anywhere from 2 or 3% to 20 or 30%. Like, it really ranges depending upon so many factors. How much of it do they do themselves? How long is the sales cycle? What is there's so many things that I can't answer it because I have seen it structured so many different ways. But what I can tell you for sure is that you're not getting a salesperson for less than $100,000. So just starting off right now, before we ever say one more word, it's $100,000, and it's probably closer to $200,000, right? That's what it's going to cost you. So let's just start there. I mean, $100,000 for the most basic, somebody sitting on the phone dialing, not an executive salesperson. An executive, like a senior salesperson who sells to big companies, or we call enterprise, they want $300,000 a year. That's between their base and their commission. And that doesn't count their travel. It may or may not count their health benefits. It certainly doesn't count their SaaS tools, their software, right? It doesn't count the desk space. It doesn't count any of that. So this is a big investment, and it's often a bad investment because it isn't handled properly.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, that's good, because that will probably scare a lot of people off.
It's very scary, but there's a way to do it successfully.
Okay. Well, what if you don't have the 100K? What are your options then?
So there's a couple of things that you could do. So if you're a manufacturing company, there are groups of people called manufacturers reps. And those manufacturers reps they have a business and they represent multiple products. Often those products are related in some way. So if I sell tanks for fuel, I also may sell the meters, and I might sell the housing. Like, there's a bunch of pieces that I might also sell. So we find a manufacturer's rep and we sell them strictly on commission. The other is to find a different kind of channel. So some people sell retail. So they just go through a retail organization and they don't have any salespeople, but they could also sell through other what we call distributors, or their channel partners who they only pay commission, but it's not free anyway, because usually if you have a channel, someone needs to manage that channel. So if you don't hire somebody to manage them, you have to manage them. And it's not just like, okay, I now have a channel partner, I don't have to do anything. You have to do stuff. You have to make sure they have what they need. You need to follow up and fill out proposals and check in with them and bring them lunch and teach them and get them excited, right? There's all of these things. So sales isn't free. So I guess the real answer is, if you don't have money to do this, then you still have to do it yourself.
Okay.
And a lot of people do it themselves.
All right. Well, I guess if you know, it is very important. So if it's not getting done, you know, if you are doing stuff, at least if you get the sales done, even if you don't get certain other things done, your business is most likely going to be better off. So
you have time for the other things usually if you get the sales done. But I think the other thing is to really think about, what do you need that sales? If that salesperson is going to cost me $100 or $200 or $300,000, depending upon what I'm looking for, what do I need in return? Like, do I need somebody that's going to sell $200,000? Nope, that's not going to cover it. Do I need someone to sell $500,000? Maybe. But if I'm paying $200,000 or $300,000 for a salesperson, I need $1 million in revenue. And that's only if I have a good enough profit margin that I can make $700,000 or $800,000.
Yeah.
Right. Or whatever it is that I can cover the cost. So as you're thinking about this, if I'm investing $100,000, what am I getting out the other side? And how do I make sure I get that from the other side? But my rule of thumb is, if you have anything that's hundreds of thousands of dollars, you better have $1 million in revenue for each salesperson.
Okay. Makes sense. Because, especially depending the business, your product cost might be 60%.
Right.
So, you're going to make a profit. So now, I know in some companies, the salesperson makes more than the owner or the
Hallelujah.
CEO.
I think this is a huge mistake. So, and I see it all the time. I see companies that it's often a sales manager or a vice president of sales or an investor or somebody who buys a company, and they're like, that salesperson makes more than I do. Get rid of them. You decide how much you want that salesperson to deliver. And if that salesperson is delivering what you want, then fabulous, they're making more than you are. Then maybe you need to restructure your business so you're making more money. Maybe you need to increase your prices so you're making more money. The company that I was working at when I was many years ago, the regional managers were making 10% and the salespeople were making 20%. So that was 30% that was going off in commissions. And the owners were thrilled to death because they were making, it was like 20% went into operations and they were making 50%. So they were perfectly happy with 50% profit. But when the investors came in, they were like, no, we can't have that. Nobody can make that kind of commission. So they took away as many places that people can make money as possible. If people are making money for you, if they're doing what you ask them to do and they're really successful, why shouldn't they make good money? And I hear it all the time. That person's too expensive. Let's get rid of them. And then why aren't we having the same level of sales that we used to have? Because you're not willing to pay for it. It's expensive to have good salespeople. And I'll tell you why it's expensive. No one else in your company except for the CEO has any risk in their salary. You pay them, you agree on a salary, and you pay them. But that's not true with your salespeople. Your salespeople, if they're willing, make 100% commission. Most of them make 50% or less of their income, of their
take home. Yeah.
In salary, and the rest is in commission. That means 50% of their salary is at risk. 50% of what they're counting on to live on is at risk. So if that's the case, you have to pay them enough that they're willing to make that investment. Why would I take the risk without the reward? So you're asking me to gamble on my revenue and assume that you can deliver what I sell, that your product is what you said it was, that you have the messaging and everything in place for me. So you want me to take that risk, then you have to be willing to pay me to take the risk.
Okay. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, one thing a lot of times I'll do when I'm training and teaching is what I call trading places. You know, putting yourself in the shoes of, you know, people you're thinking about, you know, especially when I teach about getting financing. You know, we do a case study where, you know, you can decide whether this business owner gets financing, and they like rip them to shreds. You know, they're like, your business. And then I'm like, well, so now if you go in like that, what do you expect? So then like, oh, you know, because yeah, a lot of times you don't realize stuff unless you take the time to step back and, you know, look at it from other people's perspective too. So
right. And so if you think about it in that sense, the greater my risk, the higher my payout needs to be, whether you're an investor or whether you're a salesperson. Because in essence, you're asking the salesperson to be an investor in your business because they're giving you their time without confidence that they will be able to make the money, even though they may believe they will and they may have the skills to do it. There's all kinds of other things that can get in the way.
Yeah.
The other thing I will tell you tied to that is when people say, I'm going to pay my salesperson a percentage of profit. And I advise salespeople all the time, don't take that deal. Because if it's gross profit, that's fine, because then we can agree on what the formula is. But if it's net profit, I hope I have those right. If it's net profit, I can't control the inputs. So you can say, well, I sold it wrong, that's why it didn't make the money. Or I can say you delivered poorly, that's why there was a problem. And we're going to fight over what the profit was and what I deserve. So as a salesperson, I would never take that deal because I can't control it. So your salespeople can only be expected to risk what they can control.
Yeah. And no, I think that's true, because also, yeah, you want to make it as simple to understand as possible. And, you know, net profit can be manipulated in a whole bunch of different ways. And a lot of times the salesperson is not going to be privy to it anyways. So they're going to have to take the word of the owner, and that's just a recipe for problems. So,
and the other thing is, well, how long do we expect our salesperson to wait to get their commission? So if I sell it in March and you don't start delivering until June, and then in June, it gets broken up into 25 payments and I get paid, right? Suddenly I'm a year into this without my full payout for the work that I did. So think really carefully about, again, that's a big risk because anything could happen between then and now. And if I leave or you fire me or the business closes, I never get paid.
right.
So thinking about how are you paying that person? How long do they have to wait to be paid? Because the longer they have to wait to be paid, the more you will have to pay them in salary versus commission.
Okay. Excellent. So we've covered a lot, and 1 hour always goes really fast. So we're bumping up on the hour, but you know, I think definitely we covered a lot of valuable stuff. But you know, most people can only remember like 3 things. So if you could take a sec, think about the 3 most important things that people should take away from this conversation. And you know, while you're doing that, I'm going to play a short video, and then we'll go from there. Ever wonder why some businesses succeed while other ones flounder or just plain fail? It's all about having a solid game plan, knowing what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, because your business can only go as far as you're prepared to take. How can you acquire the knowledge, the skills, and perspective that you need to succeed? What if you could learn the secret sauce in a matter of hours from the comfort of your own home or office? Now you can. I'm Andrew Frazier. I've written a series of books outlining my proven proprietary Masterpreneur Playbook framework that has helped more than 1,000 business owners to succeed. By reading the handbook and completing the workbook exercises chapter by chapter, you will actively learn how to become more effective at sales, marketing, financial management, operations, and more. Then, the playbook will guide you through the critical stages of business development and personal evolution necessary to work on your business and scale it successfully. As a result, you will create a sustainable business that can run successfully without you. Here's what others are saying about my methods.
Andrew's books are outstanding. They're easy to read. They're interesting to read, and they will take you every step of the way from startup to scaling if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to put in the time.
Good practical information that is good for both entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs. Andrew breaks it down in a very understandable way.
He's been helping me with my financials, making sure everything's together, what's working versus what's not working in my business, so that I'm working on my business and not in my business, period.
If you want to work on your business and scale successfully, you need my Masterpreneur combo, the handbook, the workbook, and the playbook. Act now to take advantage of a special offer for my Masterpreneur combo and save over 25%. I'll also sign and ship all 3 books for free. This is a limited time offer that can only be accessed using the direct link below. www.sbprouU.com/combo. Get your Masterpreneur combo today. Once again, that's www.sbprouU.com/combo. Okay, I'm back here with Liz Heiman, talking small business. Our subject tonight was hiring and managing a sales team. And Liz is going to share 3 key things that you should take away from this conversation. And you can put to work tomorrow, and that will help you to be able to sell more effectively.
So I think the first thing is that sales is not a manipulative, fast talking, it's none of that nonsense. So sales is helping people solve problems and helping them figure out how and if your solution fits them, and then helping them make a buying decision that supports them and making it easy for them to buy from you. So sales is about problem solving, not about manipulating. The second thing is you have to understand the math of your business, the sales math, from how many leads to how many things close to how much you can afford to pay a sales rep, and how much your investment needs to bring return. Like, what are you investing in the salesperson? What return do you need to get on that? I think that's the second thing. And I think the third, we really didn't get enough time to talk about, but managing that investment or managing that salesperson is really important. Understanding who that person, what that job is, what skill set they need, what tools and support you need to provide, and then managing all of that so that that person is successful. I think those are the 3 key things that I hope you take away from this.
Okay, excellent. So sales is problem solving, helping people as opposed to trying to get people to do what you want. Knowing your numbers. I think that that's one of the greatest fear of most business owners is math. So you got to get over that if you want to do this successfully. And also,
I'm not good at math, and I'm always talking sales math.
Right. But also, business math isn't math. So,
It's not calculus. It's okay. You can do it.
Right. As long as you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide with a calculator, then you can do business math. You just need to know what to put in. So, and if you can't, then you need to think about whether you should be in business.
Or who can help you do it.
Or who can help you do it or learn how to do it. True.
Right.
But, it's that fundamental to business. And then manage your investment, making sure that, you just don't bring it in and assume everything is going to happen. Make sure it happens. Make sure that give guidance and support because that's needed in the sales process as well. So, no, I think that this is great and super helpful. When we talked about the sales math and tracking what's going on, I've put in the chat Liz's sales worksheet. It's kind of long, but if you click on it, it will take you to a PDF document that you can download that actually allows you to really keep track of your funnel and, knowing who's coming in to who's, becoming a lead and all the way through. And then that'll help give you some insights about what your sales math should be. So thanks again, Liz, for sharing that. Definitely a powerful tool for you if you're a business owner or you're making sales, or even if you have other people selling for you. But it's important to really follow those best practices. So, Liz, thanks again for joining me. This is Liz's. Let's see, not that. Okay, going back to, here we go. Let's see. So many comments. So thanks everybody for all these comments. So if you want to connect with Liz on LinkedIn, her LinkedIn information's on the chat and Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And as well, I've got Liz's her website. So if you want to go to her website, learn a little bit more about her and her company and how she helps people, you can go to her website as well. So thanks.
Can I just share that if you come to my website, you can actually schedule a sales strategy session with me. There's no fee. Happy to do it. And if you go to my LinkedIn, just tell me where you met me, where you found me, and I'll connect and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Okay. No, thank you so much on that. So, definitely feel free to reach out to Liz. Liz, hang in there for a bit. I'm just going to close out and, we'll chat in a sec. So, just before we close out, just want to appreciate everybody's comments and sharing questions in the chat. Always appreciate that and always makes the show even better. As you know, each week we have a great topic and a great guest. So just want to give you some highlights on next week. So next week, we're going to talk about engineering your sales process. So we've got another set of, talking about sales and marketing. And this is going to be a little bit different in that we actually have an engineer talking about engineering your sales process. And be interesting to sort of see how he looks at it as well. So hopefully you can join us again next Tuesday. And actually next Tuesday is my birthday. So I'll be on here hanging out with you guys on my birthday and looking forward to it. So as always, the more that you know, the more successful your business is going to grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.